Okay, in this lesson we'll talk about rational numbers. A rational number can be written as a fraction in the form a over b, where a and b are both integers and b is not 0, because b, the denominator, you can't have a denominator of 0. Remember that whole numbers are numbers like 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. They start with 0 and go up by 1. And integers are all the whole numbers and their opposites. So like -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Here we have a Venn diagram, and we're going to place these numbers where they go in the Venn diagram. Now, as you can see, we have 3 categories. We have the outside circle, which are rational numbers, those numbers that can be written as a fraction. Then we have inside the rational circle, we have the integer circle, and then inside that we have the whole number circle. So the first number we want to characterize is 106. First off, is this rational? And yes, it is, because you can write 106 as a fraction by putting it over 1. So it is rational. Is it an integer? Yes, it is. Is it whole? Yes, it is. So we're going to put it in this whole, 106, which means it's whole, it's an integer, and it is rational. It's all 3 of those. Next, we have the number -5. Is -5 rational? Can you write it as a fraction? Yes, you can. You can put it over 1, right? -5 over 1, that's still -5. So it's rational. Is it an integer? Yes, it is. Is it a whole number? No, it's not, because there are no negatives. On whole numbers, there are no negatives. No negative numbers are whole numbers, okay? So if it's negative, that rules out the possibility of it being a whole. So -5 is only in the integer and rational circles. It's not in the whole number circle. The next number we have is 5/7. This is 5 over 7. And since it's written as a fraction, of course it's rational. Is it an integer? No, it's not, right? Because integers, to be an integer, you can't be a fraction, right? You can't be like something like 5/7. Okay, so 5/7 is only in the rational circle. Finally, we have -4/10, -0.4. Okay, this is a decimal. You can write a decimal as a fraction. Is it an integer? No, it's not, and it's not whole. Okay, so -0.4, -4/10, it only will go in the rational circle. Okay, finally we'll end with 3 examples of how to take an integer to a fraction in the form a over b, a mixed number to a fraction in the form a over b, and then how to take a decimal to a fraction in the form a over b. Okay, first, so example number 1, this is an integer. We're given an integer like 7 or -13 or 0, and we need to write this as a fraction in the form a over b. Okay, so all we do here is basically put the number over 1, like 7 over 1, that's still 7. -13 over 1, that's -13 as a fraction. 0 over any non-zero integer would work. So like 0 over 5, that would be 0. 0 over 1, that's 0. 0 over 4, that's 0. As long as the denominator is a non-zero integer, then that is 0 as a fraction. Next, we'll have a mixed number, and we're going to take this to a fraction in the form a over b. We've done this before by using the C method, right? Multiply 7 times 2 plus 1, that is 15, all over the original denominator, which is 7. So 2 and 1/7 is the same thing as 15/7. Okay, next we have a decimal, and we're going to take a decimal to a fraction in the form a over b. Okay, so first we need to know some place value. If here we have 0.7, I can read this number as 7/10 because this number, 7, is in the 10th place. So I would write it as 7 over 10. After I write it as a fraction, I always look for, can I simplify this? And I can't. 7/10 is simplified. The next number is 0.13, which I read as 13/100ths, right? Because this is the 10th place, that 3 is in the 100ths place. So I have 13/100ths, 13 over 100. That's as a fraction in the form a over b. I can't simplify 13 over 100. That is simplified. Next, we have -2.5. Okay, so 5 is in the tenths place, so this is the same thing as negative 2 and 5 tenths. Right? I can simplify 5 tenths because I know 5 tenths is the same thing as 1/2. So now my mixed number is negative 2.5. And I can use the C method like I did here to make this basically an improper fraction. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Don't forget your negative sign, right? This is a negative number, so it should be negative 5 over 2. Finally, we have 4.75. This is the tenths place, that's the hundredths place. So we have 4 and 75 hundredths. 4 and 75 over 100. Well, can I simplify 75 over 100? Yeah, they're both divisible by 25. So this would simplify to 4 and 3 over 4. 4 and 3/4, which is a mixed number. And like I did here, I'm going to use the C method to make it improper. So 4 times 4 is 16, plus 3 is 19 over the original denominator of 4, 19/4.